Hi, Jimmy. Good morning. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Shadab. It's been a busy week.
It's been a sleepless night. Let's put it this way. The GPT-5 is here, and it even came in my dream. Unbelievable. I think I've been
Uh,
thinking too much about it.
I felt like a kid waiting for Santa Claus on Christmas Eve on Wednesday before the announcement with GPT-5. If that tells you anything.
It truly was a summer Christmas because not just GPT-5, unbelievably, so many things came out. The open source model came out from OpenAI. They finally lived up to the name. And then
Yep.
the Anthropic didn't want to be behind. They came
Yep.
out with the 4.1 Opus.
Yeah, and then we had launches from Google with Genie 3. There was what else did we have in there? 11 Labs also dropped some stuff. Grok came out with a video and imaging service as well. So it was definitely a busy week, to say the least.
Everybody wanted pie of their attention, and we will cover it all. Stay tuned, everybody, for a quick introduction. Greetings. Welcome to the AI Files podcast. If you're looking to stay up to date on the AI, this is the podcast for you. I'm Shadab Hussain. I'm the director of AI at Microsoft, and I'm your co-host.
Hello, everybody. Jamie Basilico, as you know already. I'm the other co-host here for the AI Files. My day job is a data and AI technical specialist and architect. And as a reminder, please note this is not an official Microsoft channel, so the views and opinions expressed by myself and Shadab are our own and do not represent the views of Microsoft.
Yeah, so Jimmy, let's get rid of a few quick rapid fire news and then we can get into launches, which is going to be the main focus of this episode today. So, first of all, OpenAI is feeling very generous. They have actually provided the ChatGPT to the entire US federal workforce for not for cheap, $1 per agency. So they don't do anything for cheap. But this is, I think, good. This is just another initiative to capture specific audiences, right? We have talked about it that every company, Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, everybody is going after certain segments. Some of them are overlapping, some of them are not. Federal is, I think, something that we have seen a lot more focus on the government, like the contracts, etc. Maybe it is some sort of that creating that bonhomie with the federal employees there. So it's just for $1 for the agency for the next 1 year. They will all have the access to the Chat GPT Enterprise, which is big deal. I mean, I think it's pretty good. About almost, I believe, 2 million federal workers. So that's a lot, and they will all gain. They will, in addition, they will also get some 60 days period where they will get some advanced models and features like deep research and advanced voice mode. So that's what it is, and it is driven by their, that they've done some of their case studies, etc., where the federal employees have been using it. For example, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they have been using ChatGPT, and they saved an average of about 95 minutes per day. So it's not a big deal. It is fairly common now to save on the productivity, but I'm excited on the prospect of government employees feeling more productive. Hopefully, that will shorten the lines at the DMB office.
Yeah, you and me both can hope for that. I guess the biggest question that pops out in my head, obviously this is a great marketing ploy, hands down for that. I'm curious though, for what states or what parts of the federal government may actually not want their constituents, their users, their employees to actually use this from security concerns, and or what are they limiting use for? I mean, that would be interesting to me in understanding, that next step. I know, as you just mentioned, there's been some things already, some government agencies, whether it was Pennsylvania or in North Carolina. I know the Department of State Treasury used it, and with great results. But to what extent did they kind of codify and limit the use? That would be something where certainly we'll stay attuned to it to see where it heads and how it's actually being used. But I think um, it's a great business decision to be able to do that. When you said $1, is it $1 for everybody, or is it like $1 per person for the next year, which is still
at,
a
at the
great.
agency level. At the
Yeah,
agency level. So,
okay. So
you
yeah, so
know,
that. It's even better.
Yeah, exactly. I think the agencies need to apply for that, something like that. So I think it is not like rolled out autonomously like to everybody and then just everybody go for it. It's basically the agencies have to decide and then register for it.
Makes sense.
Okay. In another news, Jamie, Google was not behind. Google was doing actually tons of things. So, for example, they also actually, we remember we talked about the Chat GPT study mode last week, where they launched it. It's like a kind of a guided, like you don't just ship the answer, you actually make them like learn it, right? And I hope my daughter uses it because she has been using ChatGPT a lot. So similarly, and Anthropic already had something like that. It's called learning mode. So what Google has done is they have actually come out with something called guided learning tool in Gemini, which is very similar to that, right? The other thing that Google has also done is they launched actually something called storybooks in the Gemini. So what you can do is you can actually create with the prompts storybooks, 10 pages long storybooks, like children storybook style, and it's pretty good. You can easily find that very charming. It's you can use it to read it to the kids, and probably one book every day. So it's pretty good actually. In fact, I found that I wanted to relive some of my childhood memories. Remember, I told you about it, and I think I showed some example where I recreated. And it was not with the storybooks, but even with the ChatGPT 4.0 and 4.1, I recreated some of the comics or the storybooks that I wanted to actually read, which were not available now, right? So it's definitely I really actually like that comics and storybooks features.
Yeah,
And
and sorry, I was going to say, yeah, I think it's great in terms of these storybooks. It's a human connection, to be honest with you, like from parenting. I mean, even if you just take it that way, being able to actually create some of these things and connect with your child, that's it's an interesting area. And then obviously there's business implications of potentially using these storybooks as well, as you're sort of like planning things out. But
yeah,
back over
that
to you.
reminds me, Jimmy. I don't know what will happen, but the anime, right? Anime is a fairly popular stuff. My one of my daughter she's actually pretty geek about it. She just waits for all the new anime stories that come out, and she has been restless about, oh, it takes 2 years, 3 years for them to actually come out with a new one. I was wondering, like, are this anime is also a little bit traditional, like a form of storytelling and the art. I don't know if they're going to use these AI to actually do it faster. It would be interesting to see. Japan can be very traditional in certain things in the art forms, but it will be interesting to see if they're going to adapt.
Yep.
Okay, and one final quick thing: Google also committed $1 billion for AI training at U.S. universities. Again, not something new. Anthropic has done that. OpenAI has done that. They all have actually respectively committed $1 billion. No big deal. It's a fairly small number. They all have done that, and Google also said that okay, hey, we are also there. We will also commit $1 billion there. Similarly, I think everybody has done that. Microsoft also has created new learning, I would say, initiatives, etc. So that's good. I mean, there's a lot of learning around that is available now.
Yeah,
Okay,
I love how we throw around, oh, it's only $1 billion. But
exactly.
yeah,
So, and that is why no wonder, Jamie, they had to get rid of, I think, Penny because it has become irrelevant when you're talking, they're throwing the billions around. What is the use of Penny? Anyway, biggest news of the week. OpenAI launches GPT-5. Now, one thing I want to tell you, JP, I don't know if it is the biggest news of this year or summer or week or whatever because it is that good or because it is the super anticipation that has been around. We don't know that yet because it's too
yeah,
early to.
yeah. I was going to say this. If you think about it, GPT-4 has been out for what, 2+ years already. So we knew this day was coming. Is it going to live up to the anticipation? I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, we'll talk about it more as we go through. And I've done some simple testing as well as done as much reading as I could over the last less than 24 hours. Again, we're recording this the day after GPT-5 got released, but I think we'll learn more over the next couple of days if it's as good as what we have anticipated and read, and initial playing around with it. I'll get into some of my thoughts as we get into it, but continue on with what GPT-5 is.
Yes. Let me set the stage, and Jamie, then you can go deeper with your toolbox and talk more about this. So, GPT-5 is essentially, let's show it here on the screen. Basically, it has four different offerings right now, right? And particularly, it is how it is reflected in the Azure. So we are talking about from that point of view as well. But if you see, there is a mainstream model, GPT-5, which basically is a full-on reasoning model. It has, and remember, it is all encompassing. So no more need to go actually for a separate reasoning model, etc. Now you essentially can have one model which will do everything. But what they've done is they've actually created different tiers. So now there is a GPT-5, which is context window 272K, maximum output tokens 128K. By the way, on this line, I think people were expecting a million token window, but that didn't happen. The training data is October 24 through 2024, but that's not a big deal. Now we have web search, and you can always combine that, so it can always go and get the latest information. It provides a structure output, text and image processing, functions, tools, parallel tool. Basically, a pretty good model, lots of capabilities. Remember, some of these may not be breakthrough capabilities, but I think the secret is really in the nuanced and sophisticated, and the speed and the performance and the less hallucinations and the errors. That is what the combination of that makes a GPT-5, right? So it's not like something, a completely new capability that has been included, but it's just the next level of everything that is being done at a very, very, very lucrative business value. We'll talk about that because the price is half. The input price for the GPT-5 is actually half of GPT-4, and the output is actually about same. But it's still pretty good deal. And if you go to the mini and nano, it is even better. But let me first quickly go through these models, right? So GPT-5 mini is the next year. We have been used to about of this mini kind of a tier already, because there have been GPT-4 which had mini as well. But now we have another new tier, which is GPT-5 Nano, which is again like ultra low latency. That's the hallmark of GPT-5 Nano, and that's where it shines really. It does have the reasoning, but again, ultra low and pretty much similar features it has. Now, in fact, the way it is going to work out, and we'll talk about some of these offering, they are pretty good, right? So there are many tasks that Mini can very well do, or the Nano can do, or the GPT-5 can do. So we will talk about it, how that will be handled. It will be handled within the ChatGPT 5, because what they're going to do is, for some, remember, this is being rolled out to everybody, including free. So free, pro, plus, team, everybody will have it, and they already have it, right? Not everybody has gotten that rollout yet. Like, for example, I checked my account this morning, I do not have that yet, but it is being rolled out. The enterprise and education customers will get it actually by next week. So it is happening fairly quickly, and this is the first time that like the frontier model will also be available to the free, right? So it's really good. The other thing what will they do is to manage the demand. For example, everybody will get certain quota, and let's say the free users run out of the GPT-5, it will switch to GPT-5 mini and things like that likewise, but they will still be all at the GPT-5. Remember, everything else will start getting deprecated at some point now. Now, GPT-5 chat is just for the chat completion. Does not have the image processing. It is a GPT-5 chat API that is available. You can use it with the responses API, and that's available in the Azure. And this is pretty good for the from a multi-turn conversation API that you want to build for the chat. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
So let me jump in there and say a couple things. Just again, this is based upon my quick use of GPT-5 last night. It is definitely a better model. As you already indicated, there's reasoning, so it splits the capability to do reasoning that we're familiar with things like O3, as well as then doing the regular chat completion. So there's built-in smarts to figure out where and how it needs to go. Now, what's interesting from a developer standpoint, you can actually tweak how much you want it to do reasoning versus not. Again, these are at the API level. Where I say, and again, this is, I don't want to sound like I'm being harsh, but it's gonna sound like it's harsh. There's been so much pent up demand, and when is this coming out? What is it going to provide? There are certainly things that GPT-5 does well. They've in the things that I've looked at, OpenAI has squarely gone after the developer community in the sense that if you use LLMs to help to generate code or be it even like an agentic framework modeling tool, they've gone after point blank. They've gone after Anthropic. The ability for it to generate code, you want to think of it, it's on par, in my opinion, with Anthropic Sonnet. So I use Sonnet 4 inside of things like Visual Studio Code um, or Cursor. So those things are actually there already now to use GPT-5, and it does a very good job when you're in agent mode. Right. So that's one thing that they definitely squarely looked at. The other part with GPT-5 is to make it less, make it smarter, but make it less around hallucinations. So one of the things that they're propping up, and if you read any of the material, they're touting even some percentages as high as 80% less likely to produce errors in its data or how it's responding versus previous models. So reduce hallucinations at the bottom line. The other thing too, and if you remember, GPT 4.5 was introduced, but then very quickly they're like, well, we're gonna pull it. GPT 4.5 was really, really good at creative expression and writing. That's been brought into GPT 5. So I look at it as it's this collection of being better at responding because it's not hallucinating, really good at coding, and really good at writing. So those are sort of like the key use cases that I'm seeing already. The benchmark scores, I think. I think you might have a slide. I can't remember if it's on here or not. But the benchmark scores for this are pretty good. I mean, when you look at, obviously compare with GPT-4, they also make some comparisons to the O3 models. So this is a step up, being able to do that. So, scores on the AIME, scores on the SWE bench. And again, those align with the things I was talking about as far as coding. And it obviously is a multimodal model, so it scores very well on the MMMU benchmark as well. So it is definitely the most capable model as long as you're using those reasoning modes. Again, go back to what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago, is that you don't have to turn on those reasoning modes if you don't want to, but to get those highest level scores, especially on doing things like within the SWE bench for agentic coding, you're going to need to have those things turned on.
Yeah, and I think as far as the evals and the benchmarks are considered, I think less and less people are really focused on that. They are important to and OpenAI also came up with tons of those benchmarks and evals which are available on their website. But I think the point is this: ultimately, what I figure, how people use it, how they experience it, and the feel about it. That's what actually determines. That's probably the best benchmark, which is hard to capture, but that is what it is. It is, I would say basically whatever the mankind experience benchmark. And I think on that line, Jamie, there have been actually some pretty good feel around the world on this new model. Some of them feel that maybe it is not living up to the mark as much of the hype it was, but the other feel that it was I think pretty good. And again, I think same experience I also have, Jamie. Again, it's not about having something absolutely new breakthrough, but when you put different things together, it actually makes it a next level, like less
Right.
hallucinations, less errors, right? Better value, lesser price and speed, and the coding agency, right? That The way they have much more agentic capabilities inside the model itself when it handles the coding and other things like that. That's what actually makes the next level.
Yeah, and I look at it as it's the layering. So, like you said, you're getting all these things into one tool, and whenever I have one tool, that's better than how do I go out to this version, that version, this tool, that tool. Just makes the life a lot easier. So there's so much with GPT-5. Well, I'm going to take a little divergent path here. So that was the news from OpenAI. But as you know, Microsoft and OpenAI have a strong partnership. So the OpenAI GPT-5 model was also simultaneously released on the Azure platform. So you're looking at some information right now on the slide as it relates to the pricing. Let's just say the pricing is, it's certainly geared towards additional use, again, based upon what model that you're looking at, whether or not it's the GPT-5 or the MIDI or Nano. So it's very competitive, is what I'm getting at for these advanced reasoners, as well as some of this, straight out just things like with chat, as an example.
Yeah.
Um, so one of the other things that I wanted to talk about as it related to the Microsoft side is how far reaching this was released at the same time. So I mentioned already, it's generally available on the Microsoft platform. That doesn't just mean like the development tools. So obviously it's out there in our Azure OpenAI services and on Azure AI Foundry, which by the way, you're seeing a screenshot. Again, I was playing with this last night, being able to deploy a Foundry model. So I did a GPT-5 mini deployment, started using it. That's why I kind of, already mentioned, the things that I saw that popped out as far as what it's able to do, respond on, and some coding pieces. So again, these are all available through APIs, as well as this is something special on the Microsoft side. We have something called the model router, which allows a single model deployment. It will automatically determine whether or not your prompt needs GPT-5, GPT-5 mini, nano, or chat. But it will also, if you need something where it needs to go into an O4 model, it'll do that. It will automatically also determine if your prompt doesn't even need GPT-5, but maybe needs something like the GPT 4.1 model. So the model router, what I'm getting at, is also now updated for the GPT-5 class models. Now, the other, as I said before already, these models have been enabled in several different areas other than just using Foundry. So again, I'm showing you Visual Studio Code. I'm working on another project, irrelevant for our discussion right now. But if you notice, I had to update the VS Code. As soon as I made the update, the GPT-5 model now appears inside of GitHub Copilot. So you can see if you squint really hard, this is inside the agent mode inside of GitHub Copilot. And lo and behold, we've got the GPT-5. And again, this is being touted as a preview inside of VS Code. Now, if that wasn't enough, again, Microsoft has fully committed to GPT-5 across all of our different tools. One of them also being just the straight old Microsoft Copilot. So you can see here, you have to be in personal mode. It's not yet in the business M365 Copilot, but I'm logged in as my personal account, which is on the top right. But you notice that it's got a smart mode, which now offers GPT-5 use. So again, whether or not you're a developer, whether or not you're using Foundry, or if you're using just a straight out of the box, quote unquote, Copilot, you can leverage GPT-5 directly across all of these Microsoft suite of tools. So Microsoft has been busy with OpenAI at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's
Sorry, I should
remarkable.
one last. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that, Jamie, that it's remarkable that this is, I think, this first time I see that such a large frontier model that was already pre-included in all Microsoft products on the day one, as it was launched. So I think that's a remarkable jump, because usually these models take a little bit time. They are in preview and all those things, but this is directly generally available, which means that a lot of work has happened. I think they waited for this was not rushed through model. Basically, that's what we can read into. It has been well played out, well experimented, and then taken into the products. Otherwise, it would not have already made it to the. And I did, like Microsoft 365 Copilot that we all have access to. Yesterday, I played with it. I already switched to the M365, and then it was pretty good. The answers in the M365 Copilot, I asked it to actually analyze one of the meeting, give me the actions, and it gave a pretty good damn summary. So I already feel good about those GPT-5 in the Microsoft products.
Yeah, and like you said, that there's obviously been a lot of collaboration between the two companies, and other than just incorporating into the different tools from a hardware perspective, like expecting the inundation of users and people, having the appropriate amount of headroom in all of the servers that are serving this up, that's not trivial. And I know that's been worked on for quite a few months already. So obviously, yes, large partnership and large collaboration between both companies to make this available on literally day zero. All right.
Although Elon Musk disagree with you, Jamie. There, okay, he doesn't believe that this is the greatest model. Grok is still beating the Open AI GPT-5, and he believes that OpenAI will eat Microsoft alive.
Well, time will tell, I guess. So speaking of that, like with different models, just rounding out one last thing on OpenAI. Like I said, this has been a busy week. They released those open weight models. I know you kind of teased about that a little bit up front before we started this episode, but OpenAI released open weight models. And again, what an open weight model is fully disclosing how the large language model was constructed, and then also making it open source. So these are available. And again, there's two models. There's two models. One is the OSS 120 billion parameter. It's actually 117 billion. And then the OSS 20 billion, which is actually 21 billion. But both of those models are available under the Apache 2 licenses. So what that really means is it empowers free downloads, modification, and commercial use of these models. So you could download the 20 billion model, again, provided you have enough hardware. You could see the code, and then you can make your own, like Jamie GPT OSS, 20 billion model, if I so choose to. But that's what the Apache license does. So again, this puts a stake in the ground in terms of a return to transparency from what OpenAI had, and I think it was 2019 that they put out one of their first open models, which was GPT-2. So this tells you it's been a while, 6 years to get back to this point. More importantly, these models both support chain of thought reasoning, tool use. They have a fairly large context window. I mean, it's not the super large, it's 128K. And then they do have these ability to adjust the reasoning level, again, similar to what GPT-5 has in it as well. So the 120 billion parameter model, again, the 117 billion, actually delivers some pretty good performance as it relates to reasoning. You could say it's on par with the O4 mini model. And it's optimized actually to run on a 80 gig machine with GPUs supporting it. Now, the 20 billion model, again, I would say aligns with some of the less capable reasoning model, obviously. But the important thing here is it's able to run on a smaller size machine, 16 gig of memory. And you don't need GPUs for this one. Obviously, GPUs are better, but you could fit that on most laptops today if you wanted to try and kick around with it. So benchmarks, again, are pretty good. They align with either O4 mini or O3 mini, depending upon the size or size of the model that are picked. So anyway, just wanted to frame that out. And again, this is something where it goes back to the use and some of the promise that OpenAI actually had put out there. And again, you could see the two models. Probably had this should have had the slide up there a little bit earlier, but you get the sense of what it is. And yes, you could actually do pricing. So if you wanted to do serverless, yeah, it's an open source model, but you could actually pay for it if you didn't want to have the hardware. Obviously, if you do it yourself in a managed compute, it's it's all about um, it's all about what you're actually running this on. So these are the Azure prices so that we're talking about. So being able to run it on an Azure from us, serverless, certainly less costly than its counterparts in the GPT-5. But again, you could run this on your own hardware if you wanted to as well from the download. And these are all things of why a model, everything from like cost control, obviously, but you control the code and you could run this anywhere. So even if you wanted to run this on-prem, you theoretically could, because you can run this code anywhere you wanted to. And you have full control then of the security, and you don't have to worry about who's using your data if you're going directly to OpenAI, as an example.
Yeah, and the good thing is that these models, this particularly the 20 billion parameter model, Jamie, this can be actually downloaded in the Windows AI Foundry as well, right? So just remember, folks, Azure AI Foundry is available in Azure, but there is also Windows AI Foundry, which allows you to download some models locally and then use them. You could do that as well. Um, the other, I think, important thing is I think this model is actually smart move. I feel, Jamie, this is open source because multiple things are happening, right? First of all, Llama is kind of like being perceived that they've lost the open source model race. The Chinese models have taken leap, and this is where the OpenAI is also actually trying to reclaim that space, right? Because that space was long held by the Meta and Llama. Now, and Chinese models have taken that approach of all the open weight models. So this is OpenAI actually just expanding its wings and also coming into the open forum and finally living up to their name.
Yep.
Um, so I think that is what it is. The other thing also it does is, Jamie, that remember, Azure had the exclusive access to all these models. Now, what it did is Amazon actually announced, oh, wow, we're going to actually provide the OpenAI open weight models for the first time in the AWS as well. So they finally have a chance to provide the OpenAI's models as well. And just remember, from a pricing point of view, the pricing that you showed, that serverless pricing, if you use that in the Azure, it's just bit tad expensive more than the GPT-5 Mini. Okay, so it is roughly about half of where the GPT-5 tiers are today right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point. Yeah. So like we said, there's a lot of launch news today. Let me do one real quick about Anthropic. I kind of was just talking about the coding capability of GPT-5 and puts it on par with the Claude Sonnet 4. Again, my opinion, quick testing that I did last night. But I kind of think all these different foundational model companies look to see what someone else is doing. So Anthropic, not to be outdone, actually released an updated version of Opus. And this was just maybe 2 or 3 days prior to the GPT-5 announcement. So why this is important, again, you got to think back to what Anthropic is kind of targeting. They're definitely targeting developer community to create all things in terms of code, including agents, which is obviously a big push these days. So Opus 4 was out there, and it wasn't that long ago that it was out there, but they made an upgrade to Opus, which again is their most capable model. And it brings various different improvements. So they upped the SWE benchmark. So it achieved a 74.5. And if you kind of remember the slide that I just showed before around GPT-5, it's actually above GPT-5. So, where's the most capable model right now for agentic code development? It is Anthropic, but we're talking small percentages here. So it kind of depends where is your allegiance line, the things that you like to do. Hands up, I am still using the Anthropic models, more testing to be done, certainly on my side for GPT-5, but that's one. It's got enhancements for in-depth research and data analysis. And Obviously, developer experience, they're available through API, Cloud Code, Amazon Bedrock, as well as within Google's Vertex AI. So it's got a very wide platform for how you could use this. So again, just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention because again, I go back to the fact that there's been a lot of focus on GPT-5, certainly in the last day, and I'm sure it will be over the next couple of days. But don't overlook the things that other foundational model companies are putting out there. In this case, that being Claude.
Yep. Okay. Let's talk about another model, which is Genie 3. This is from Google DeepMind, and this Genie 3 is a large language model. What the world models do is actually they try to look the model from a the real world point of view, right? Not just the language and the poetry and the completion and all those things, but actually the real world rendering, right? How the physics work in the real world. And these models are actually important as per the Google. They say that this is the path to the AGI. Now, if you ask different company, they all have different paths to AGI. OpenAI certainly believes that GPT-5, the way that it is going, this is the path to AGI. And Google believes that the Genie 3 is the world model is the path to AGI. What this world model does is this is actually, of course, a advancement on the previous version, Genie 2. With a simple text prompt, you can actually generate multiple minutes of interactive 3D environments at 720p resolution at 24 frames per second. This is significantly higher from the 10 to 20 seconds what Genie 2 could produce, right? So it's a lot longer and lot better in terms of the quality. It is promptable world events. You can change it with the prompt. The way it does is it actually generates it's auto regressive. So it generates the first frame and then it takes that frame as an input and then generates the next one. What it means is that without explicitly being programmed, it actually knows the memory, which means that it is very the high fidelity, right, to the previous rendering, and then it remembers. So the physics of this model is pretty good. um, this is not available in public though. Don't itch here to actually try this out. This is a research model, not available in public. I think it was released just to take a little bit limelight away from the GPT-5. That's all it is. But it's not yet in your hands. But I think this is exciting, and of course, the world model has its place as well. All right. Quick, that's not yet. Other announcements, 11 Labs. 11 Labs is a company that actually specializes in a lot of voice related models and services that they provide. They have actually launched something called 11 Music. 11 Music is a new AI tool that basically turns your text prompts into full studio quality songs with vocals and instrumentals in any style or language. You can control the genre, whatever you want. You can basically change the tempo or rhythm and the structure and all that kind of thing. And it is cleared for full commercial use in films, TV, YouTube, games, podcasts, and wherever you want it. Reason, because what they've done is they have done the licensing deals with Merlin Network and Cobalt Music Group, which means that the artist could actually opt in or opt out, and they will also get the revenue sharing. So it is a bit different from how the others have done it. This is different from how the Suno and Udio had done that, because they are already mired in the legal challenges about the copyright, etc. But in this case, they see that okay, fully commercially compliant, you can actually use it for any purpose that you want it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I was to say, I know we're running quickly out of time here, and maybe we spend a little bit more time on this next one, or this next episode. But Grok, XAI just released a new tool for image and video creation. It's called Grok Imagine. But it basically allows you, very similar to some of the tools like VO through Google, to start out with a prompt, and it could even start out with static images, and it can turn that into AI generated visuals, whether it's new images or videos with native audio connected to it as well. So I've seen some of the things that are created. I haven't used it yet. So maybe the next episode we can get a little bit deeper and I could show you some of the things that it generates. I typically do my, show a tornado in the field with storm chasers, so I could maybe do a comparison to what Google can do within VO as well.
It was one of the most busy week. I think so many different significant launches actually happened within a span of just 1 week. We tried our best to keep you all up to date. We could not cover other items in the episode that we regularly do, but this is not all. So keep listening, keep subscribing, keep sharing.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.